Hi guys, am I audible? If I'm audible, please give a response in the chat box. I'll get to know that you guys are able to hear me. If I'm audible, give a response in the chat box. Perfect. I'm getting to see some responses. Great. So let's start the session. Again, the agenda for the session, first of all, we have 10 solid questions in decision making. All are questions which came in XAT at some point of time or the other. So the key idea behind discussing this is not to arrive at the answers, but to understand the thought process when you solve a decision making question. How you eliminate an answer, on the basis of what can you eliminate answers, how you're supposed to think, how you're supposed to pick up what exactly is being asked in the question. So it is the thought process that we are trying to learn while solving these questions. So we are going to have 10 questions today. And as usual, we are going to have a live quiz which is going to go parallel to this. So you can click the first link that you see in the description and you should be able to land up in our dashboard where under live quizzes, you have a quiz named Decision Making Live Quiz for YouTube session. Please click on that quiz and you will be able to take the quiz parallel to the session. And in case you're watching the session after the session is over as a recorded video, you won't be able to take the quiz, of course, but you will still be able to see the questions on the screen and you can just go along with the video. But if you're there in the live session, I would strongly suggest that you click the first link and follow up with the live quiz. So we'll be doing a question there, coming back here and so on. So we'll be going to and fro between the quiz page and the discussion page. So that's how it is going to be. And we'll also have a real-time leaderboard, which will tell where you stand with respect to your competition. I think we can start as I've got responses from people that I'm audible. I think we can start. So please head over to the quiz page by clicking the first link in the description. And you can click on start in the quiz that says decision making live quiz for YouTube session. You would not be able to start. I mean, you won't be able to see the first question. I'll have to start it for you to see the first question. But if you've already reached the page, if you've already reached the quiz page, please type Q in the chat box so that I'll know that whoever is trying to follow up is already there in the quiz page. That's perfect. So I'm starting the first question for today's quiz. So you can head over to the quiz page. I'm starting the first question. The first question is up in the quiz and it is also up here on your screen. We'll be waiting for the timer to get over. Post that, we will start the discussion. Okay, looks like the time is up. Let's see what is the status of the leaderboard at the end of the first question. Many of you have got it right. Ravi Raman Sharath has scored extremely high points. I don't know how that's possible. Okay, let's continue with the discussion. Rose is the queen of Kingdom A and Emily is the queen of Kingdom B. Both share a common border. They also share a border with Kingdom C, a much larger kingdom ruled by King Jonathan, who has expansive ambitions. Though individually their armies were no match to his might, together their armies were more powerful than King Jonathan's army. Jonathan's kingdom also bordered Kingdom K on the opposite side, making Kingdom C a buffer state between Kingdom A, B, and K. Kingdom K is ruled by King Somersault, who united a group of warring and belligerent tribes under his aegis. Kingdom K and Kingdom C had continuous skirmishes with each other. Okay, so that's the general content. Let's see what is the specific content here. Jonathan realized that he has limited arms and ammunition to fight on all the three fronts simultaneously. Okay, now why would he fight on all the three fronts first of all? This guy has got expansive ambitions, right? So he might think of annexing the neighboring places also. So he thinks that, he realized that he has limited arms and ammunition to fight on all the three fronts simultaneously. Therefore, he planned to double the arms and ammunition, which will take a few years. When his news reached Emily and Rose, they held a secret meeting to discuss the situation. Which of the following actions by Emily and Rose will be the best suited to delay Jonathan's plan? Okay, now what is his plan? His plan is to double the arms and ammunitions, right? Let's see which of these options is best suited to delay his plan. First one, Emily and Rose should double their armies. How does that delay his plan? Emily and Rose could double their armies and Jonathan might also double his army, right? Just because Emily and Rose are doubling his army, probably Jonathan will not even know that they are doing it. It might not even affect Jonathan by any way. So Emily and Rose should also double their armies and is in no way going to delay his plan. So I'm going to get rid of that. Next one, the two queens should meet Jonathan and attempt to sign a peace pact. Okay, I'm going to keep this aside. Let's see if there is something more ridiculous. We'll get rid of that first and then we'll come back. Emily and Rose should send arms and ammunition to Somersault for the next few years. Okay, how is that going to delay Jonathan from doubling his army? Probably Jonathan will never get to know that something like that is happening. Even if he gets to know, he might probably think that these guys are all colluding. I might have to build my army faster. That would actually backfire, right? So Emily and Rose should send arms and ammunition to Somersault for the next few years. Is not going to delay Jonathan doubling his army. Okay, next, arms and ammunition, that is. Emily and Rose should attack Jonathan immediately. If you attack him immediately, probably you will bring down his current state of affairs itself. So that is something that we can consider. Let's look at the last one. The two queens should ignore the news. If you're going to ignore the news, how is that going to delay his doubling the army? That's not going to affect anything. So now we have two options here. The two queens should meet Jonathan and attempt to sign a peace pact. That's one. And the next one is Emily and Rose should attack Jonathan immediately. Okay, I could see that a lot of you got this question right, and which I think is possible. In that case, you must not have gone for option 2. Can you give me a reason in the chat box as to why you did not go for option 2? Because if these two queens are going to sign a peace pact, then he might not feel that he has to fight on all three fronts. Then he might not double his army, right? That could be an argument as to why we should go for option 2. So why would he not go for option 2? In case you did not go for option 2, you can give your response in the chat box. Why would he not go for option 2? Why not attempt to sign a peace pact? Okay, there is one reason. No confirmation that the peace pact will materialize. Very good. Okay, they're just telling you attempt to sign a peace pact, so you don't know whether the peace pact will materialize or not. That's great. Someone is telling ethically peace is the better option. Definitely, someone could actually argue that peace is a better option here, right? And Jonathan may be a little more attentive. It says, so we are not sure. Yes, ethically I chose 2. See, 2 is definitely an option that one would consider to go for, right? But looking at the situation here, okay, let's look at the situation here. First thing is, you got to notice that this guy, Jonathan, he has expansive ambitions. Means what? This guy wants to expand his kingdom, right? He wants to expand his kingdom. Now, the 2 queens should meet Jonathan and attempt to sign a peace pact. The thing is, Jonathan, as of now, might not even be expecting that the queens are going to attack. So in his mind, it's already peace with the queens, right? So it's not that the queens are known for expansion or something like that. So right now in Jonathan's mind, already there is a peace pact with the queens. So if the queens are going to attempt to get a peace pact, it doesn't serve Jonathan at all. Okay, see, it's more like this. Just to drive the point home, I'm just going to exaggerate this a little. Okay, let's say you're in a school and your teacher is coming to give you a punishment. Okay, and you're telling your teacher, hey, wait, let's sign a pact. I will not punish you. You don't punish me. Of course, the teacher was not expecting you to punish, right? So in this case, if you see, Jonathan was not expecting the queens. The queens are not attacking him or anything for him to go for a peace pact. There is nothing for him in the peace pact. Okay, but he wants to expand. So when you attempt for a peace pact, first of all, you don't know whether he will sign the peace pact. Probably he might become more cautious that he has to build his army. And there is nothing in Jonathan to go for a peace pact because in his mind, there is already peace with the queens. He might come up with a surprise attack. So the peace pact is not something that will work out well with Jonathan, given 2 things. One is his expansive ambitions. The other thing is already he is at peace with the queens. He's not expecting any attack from the queens to go for the peace pact, right? So that's one reason I would get rid of option 2. Now, coming to option 4, Emily and Rose should attack Jonathan immediately. And it is given that together their armies were more powerful than Jonathan's army. So if these 2 queens are going to come together, they're going to build an army that is stronger than or mightier than Jonathan's army. So they might be able to defeat Jonathan. At least they will be able to make sure that they kind of decimate his army, and hence his doubling plans will get delayed because his arms and ammunition will definitely come down after they go for an attack. Okay, so the best option we have is option 4 for this question. Okay, I could see some responses. Let me see what people are saying. Someone is saying Jonathan's plan is to expand. That's one of the reasons why he might not be interested in the peace pact. There's one more option, one more comment here. We don't know if Jonathan is doubling up his army for the queens or somersault. Should the queens still attack Jonathan? Yeah, see, the question is, which of the following actions Emily and Rose will be by Emily and Rose? So Emily and Rose should take an action. Okay, so they have to take an action as per the question. So they have to go for some kind of an action, and of the actions that they can go for, this is the best action we have. Is that clear? Someone was asking, maybe Jonathan is not doubling his army for the queens. Maybe he is targeting somersault. So why should the queens do something? The question is asking the queens to do something. Is that clear? Perfect. So I hope everybody is clear with the first question. Please type 1 if everybody is clear with the first question so that I can move forward to the next one. Perfect. Let's move to the next question. And those of you who are joining us late, we have a live quiz going parallelly to this. You will be able to click the first link that you see in the description. And once you hit there, under live quizzes, you'll be able to see a live quiz named Decision Making Live Quiz for YouTube session. Click on that and start it off. We are moving to the second question in the quiz. Okay, someone is asking, before that, someone is asking, if a similar case happens in an organization. See, generally in an organization, we try to be a little more ethical than a kingdom kind of situation. And here we are not looking at an organization as such. We are looking at a kingdom, which if you don't go for an attack, might get attacked. So situation is very different here. When you're dealing with kings and kingdoms, right? You are dealing with a king with expansive ambitions. So if you don't attack, you might get attacked. That kind of a situation you might not find in an organization. So this is a completely different situation compared to an organization. Is that point clear? Someone is asking what will happen if the whole thing were to happen in terms of an organization. Great. Let's move to the next question. I'm going to the next question in the quiz. And the next question is also up on your screen here. Okay, the time is up. Let's see what is the status of the leaderboard at the end of this question. Okay, there is some change here. Okay, let's see how we can attempt this one. Jonathan aims to invade and annex Kingdom K once and for all. The one on the opposite side, right? It's given here. Kingdom K on the opposite side. Which of the following options will best enable him to accomplish the ambition? Let's look at the options one by one. He should try and create rift between the two queens. How is that going to help? Now, this is probably assuming that when he attacks K, K might form an alliance with the queens and queens might come and help. All these are assumptions. K might not go for an alliance, or even if K tries for an alliance, the queens might not be interested in getting into all this, right? So it's all based on an assumption that the queens might support K and hence create a rift between the queens right away. So we don't know whether all that assumption will work or not. So there is no point trying to create a rift between the queens in case you want to go and attack the person on the other side. So that doesn't look like a great option. He should sign a peace pact with Queen Rose and Queen Emily. May not be necessary at all. Maybe they are least interested if you're going to attack K or not attack K. They just want to maintain their own peace, right? So there is no point. That might not be the best way to prepare yourself. He should secretly invest in doubling his army by reducing all other expenditure. This is something very direct. You want to attack, you double your army, right? Looks like that could be our answer. Let's look at the other ones. He should request the cooperation of Queen Rose and Queen Emily. Yeah, you can always request, but you might not get their cooperation. But what do they have in it to come and help you to attack K? They are probably being very peaceful, right? So requesting might not be as efficient as building your own army because your request might not result in anything. Okay, so they might not be interested in coming and helping you to go and annex the neighboring place. He should attack all three kingdoms simultaneously. Definitely not. Definitely not. If you're going to split all your resources across these three places, you are not going to have a solid attack in any of the three fronts, which means it is possible that Jonathan might get defeated on all the three fronts, right? So splitting resources is not the best thing to do. So the best option we have here is secretly invest in doubling his army. any kind of reaching out to the queens might not work out in his favor. Maybe the queens are not interested at all in helping him annexing K. Now, what do they have in that whole process? I mean, what do they have to take out in the whole process? So anything to do with the queens might not be a great option, and attacking all three of them at the same time is probably the dumbest move to do. So the best option we have is 3, secretly increase your army and then go for an attack sometime later. So the best option we have is option 3 for this question. Please type 3 if everybody is clear with why we are going with option 3 for this question. Okay, there is a question here. But sir, if he invests in only building his army and not on other aspects of the kingdom, won't his kingdom suffer? Okay, see, by reducing all other expenditures, secretly doubling his army. Now we'll have to see what is the requirement in the question, right? Question is, Jonathan has an ambition. He aims to invade and annex kingdom K once. Which of the following options best enable him to accomplish the ambition? So our primary target is to find an option which will best help him to accomplish that ambition. What is his ambition? Is to annex kingdom K. Now, does Jonathan bother if his kingdom is going to the dots? Maybe he doesn't bother at all. Okay, so we need not think that his kingdom might not do well if he is going to invest a lot in his army. Maybe he doesn't want his kingdom to do well. Maybe he doesn't like his people at all. Right? So be very clear about what the question is asking for. The question is asking for, he has an aim. Which of the following options will help him to accomplish that ambition? Strictly stay to that and then analyze options. Okay, there's another question here. Sir, if he doubles his army, maybe for the reason in the previous question, the queens might attack him. So signing a peace pact with them might help him, since queens will know they won't be his next target. See, that's why he is secretly investing in doubling his army, right? When you say secretly investing, probably it's not going to come out at all. Like nobody is going to get to know that he's actually doubling his army. Is that clear? So the queens might not get to know at all, as he is secretly investing in doubling his army. Yeah, please don't carry forward anything from the previous question. Right? Please don't carry forward any information that you get from the previous question other than the one you see for the current question. Okay, someone is telling, sir, they didn't mention that King K's army is bigger than his. They did mention, but it always helps to double your army. Right? Of the options that you have here, I'll have to pick up an option which is going to help him in his ambition. So if you're going to double your army, even if King K's army is not matching the current strength of Jonathan's army, by doubling his army, it's only going to become easy for him to annex. Is that clear? Although we don't know about the comparative might of King K's army, it still helps to double your army. It's going to make it easier to annex. Okay, I'm loving this discussion, guys. This is where we actually learn. So please put your questions across. Okay, someone is asking, but sir, here if he loses with K, then the queens are also at a risk with their kingdom, so then it's better to cooperate with them before taking further decisions. Again, we are assuming that he's going to lose. We don't know whether he's going to lose. Right? See, again, you want to think within the scope of the question. The question is telling to achieve his ambition. What is his ambition? The question is clearly stated, to annex kingdom K. After annexing kingdom K, Jonathan might commit suicide and die off. So what happens after that is none of our business. And probably if kingdom K is not able to annex, what happens after that is none of our business. We just have to concentrate on how to make sure Jonathan is able to accomplish his ambition. Ambition is annexing kingdom K. So don't worry about what will happen if he fails with his aim. That's none of our business. We have to make sure we prepare him enough to get his ambition. Is that clear? The best possible preparation he can do to achieve his ambition is what we're looking at. Perfect, guys. Please keep coming up with your alternate ways of thinking, because I could have just made a video and uploaded it on YouTube and asked people to watch if you're interested. But the good thing about the live session is to have you guys giving your reasons and trying to get things sorted. Because it's not about this question, right? I mean, I should equip you to answer many other questions of this kind. So please don't hesitate to put your doubts in the chat box. I'm looking forward to those doubts. Okay, I hope all of us are clear with this question. So let's move to the next question in the quiz. Okay, let's come back to that. In case you are just joining now, please click the first link in the description to go to the quiz. I have moved to the next question in the quiz. And the next question is up on your screen here as well. Okay, the time is up. Let's see the status of the leaderboard. Wonderful. Let's see how we can solve this question. King Somersault was growing tired of the warring tribes who slowed down the overall economic development of Kingdom K. Which of the following is the best option for King Somersault to focus on economic development? So keep that in mind. Okay. Which of the following options will help him to focus on economic development? Let's look at the options one by one. Align with Jonathan to eliminate one or two of the tribes and instill fears in others. Okay, it's possible that Jonathan cares a damn about what's happening with King K and Kingdom K and the tribe. So Jonathan might not even be interested in aligning with this particular king. And instill fear in others. Okay, fine, you instill fear in others. How are you going to concentrate on economic development? You have just instilled fear, so it still doesn't answer the economic development point. So one is ruled out. Next one, design annual economic plans with each plan named after a different tribe. Okay, now these are warring tribes, means they fight among each other, right? So you design a plan with each plan named after a different tribe, means you kind of honor each tribe there as well. Not a great option, but I'll keep it aside. Request Jonathan to send teachers, like Jonathan cares. He might not even care. Okay, so that might not even work out. Okay, why would Jonathan send teachers? What does he have in the whole process? He doesn't have anything in the whole process. Align with two queens, like the queens care. Now, why should the queens do that? Align with the two queens to eliminate a few tribes and unify the rest. Okay, fine, but what do they have in it? They might not. And it still doesn't say anything about the economic development part. Right? It only says unify the rest. Okay, but what about the economic development part? What are you doing for economic development? Nothing is given. Create a rift among the tribes and instigate a civil war. Pretty murderous, that is. It's not that you cannot go for a murderous option in a kingdom kind of situation. You can go for it, provided that's the only option for you. Otherwise, you might end up dying. Okay, if it is a do or die kind of situation, you can still go for something like that, especially in a kingdom warring and all the kind of context. But here, create a rift among the tribes and instigate a civil war means you're just thinking of killing them off. You're not still explaining how are you going to work on the economic development part. Okay, you're just demolishing them. So none of the options actually speak about what are you going to do for the economic development than option 2. Other than option 2, none of the options are speaking about it. So option 2 is the best answer here. I would not say it's a great option, no, naming after different tribe or not, but that's the only option which is going to help in focusing on economic development. Others are not even speaking about how it is going to contribute to economic development. Otherwise, they're assuming too much that the neighboring kings are going to come and help. They might not be interested at all. So the best option we have here is option 2 for this question. Okay, how will the conflict get reduced if they design that plan? So what he is trying to do is, see, they are warring tribes, means tribes which fight amongst themselves, right? So he is going to design an annual economic plan with each plan named after a different tribe. So he is going to honor each tribe there. Okay, he's going to honor each tribe. Each of them is given importance in the whole process. So that way they might not put a blockage to his economic plan. So as I said, that's not a great option, but that's the best option we have here. Okay, any other doubt as to why we are going for option 2? If you're clear with why option 2 is the best option we have here, type 2. If not, you can type in your doubt in the chat box. Okay, option 4, create a rift among the tribes and instigate a civil war. Now, why I would not go for that is that doesn't tell anything about how economic development is going to happen. It doesn't speak anything about economic development. That's the prime reason we'll not go for option 4. And also it's a little barbaric. If killing is not necessary, you need not kill. As I said, if it's a do or die, probably yes. If you don't kill, if you get killed, probably yes in these kind of situations. But just because economic development is not happening, you will not go about causing people to die. Okay, that's option 5. Option 4, sorry, that's option 5. Option 4, someone wanted me. Align with the 2 queens to eliminate a few tribes and unify the rest. Align with the 2 queens to... See, the thing is, why would the queens align? Why would the queens align with this guy to eliminate? Probably they don't have any interest at all. They are leading a happy life. They don't have anything in it, right? Unless the option says you are also going to pay back the queens in some way or something, right? So the queens might not even be interested in this whole process. Align with the 2 queens to eliminate a few and unify the rest. And it still doesn't say what exactly are you going to do for economic development. That's the reason I would not go for 4. Is that clear why we are not going for 4? Okay, let's look at the next question. We are moving to the 4th question in the quiz. And in case you have just joined the quiz, you have just joined the discussion, please do like the discussion. If you're really liking the way the session is going, do like the discussion. It will help us to reach more students. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe. We do around 2 to 3 sessions every week, which are live sessions. You will start getting information regarding that. Okay, let's move forward to the next one. And any information regarding that can also be accessed from our website. So in case you haven't visited our website, do visit and you'll be able to see all the information regarding the future classes. Great, let's move to the next question in the quiz. The next question is up in the quiz. It's also up on the screen here. Okay, the time is up. Let's see the status of the leaderboard after you guys have attempted this question. Very good. There is some change here already. Let's see how we can solve this one. Sanchit Group of Hospitals seeks to improve the success rate and patient satisfaction rate by 100% the next year. However, the management can't afford to send doctors for professional development outside the country, nor afford purchasing more equipment. As an in-house measure, the managing board thought of having doctors with high patient satisfaction to mentor those with less. Most of the doctors found it an interference with the management, judgmental, and an expression of distrust. There were, however, some isolated few who found it a novel way of learning from each other. The doctors felt the management should instead increase consultancy fees and spend more on recruiting more paramedics who could spend time with patients, rather than blame doctors and decide to call it quits. For the management, this would mean loss of patients. Given the current situation, which of the following is the most interactive and efficient way to increase the learning among paramedics and doctors? Okay, there are certain keywords in the question. You got to note them before you can go ahead and start looking at the options. The question is clearly asking for most interactive and efficient way to do what? To increase learning among doctors and paramedics. So this is a key part you should remember. Interactive, effective, for what? Learning among paramedics and doctors. So keep this thing in mind when you go and look at the options. So now let's look at the options one by one. Implement professional development standards for staff, linking it with an accountability framework. Where is the interaction here? There is no interaction here, right? So I'm going to get rid of that option. Let's go to the next one. Encourage paramedics and doctors to pursue courses over MOOC platform at their own cost, which shall be partially subsidized after successful completion. Okay, what is the problem with this option? Let me see if some of you can come up with that. Can you tell me what is the problem with option 2? Which part of the requirement of the question is it not satisfying? I'm looking for some responses from people who are there in the live session. There is a part of the question which option 2 is not addressing at all. Interaction, there is no interaction here. We'll have to come up with something interactive, right? We have keep those key points in mind, guys. Most interactive, efficient, effective way. Interactive, effective. These two are two keywords to be kept in mind. For what? Learning among paramedics and doctors. So that has to be the tunnel through which you see each and every option. Interactive, effective learning, interactive, effective learning. Are they satisfying these 3 points? Whenever you look at an option, you got to think about these 3 points. So that's why the question is important. You got to look at the question as to see what exactly are they asking us to do. Okay. So I don't see any interaction happening here. If you're going to do courses on your own, sitting in your house, where is the interaction? Right. So I'm going to get rid of this one. Is everybody clear why I'm getting rid of option 2? Please type 2 if everybody is clear with why I'm getting rid of option 2. Okay, let's move forward. Let's look at option 3. Get doctors and paramedics with high satisfaction rates, document their success stories for use of others. Well, do we have interaction here? Doctors and paramedics with high satisfaction rates or document their success stories and probably put it up in a library or something where people can go and see. So what is the problem with option 3 again? It is again one-sided. People might not even read and there is no interaction happening. Someone is documenting something and putting up somewhere and someone else is expected to come and see. Where is the interaction here? There is no interaction here as well. I can get rid of this option on the basis of that. Create groups of paramedics and doctors to meet every day. For once, there is some interaction here, right? Create groups of paramedics and doctors, and that's the group of people we are targeting, right? Learning among paramedics and doctors. So create groups of paramedics and doctors to meet every day and discuss their insights and experiences of the day. That might result in interaction, and there will be effect also because there are at least some people who are getting positive reviews. So they're also going to interact with other people about the experiences. I'm going to keep this aside. Let's look at the next one. Ask doctors and paramedics with high satisfaction rate to give lectures to others before start of the work. Again, when you give lectures, it doesn't really look like it is interactive. Lecture is something where one person stands and delivers something, right? It's not like discussion. Right. So if you're going to compare 4 and 5, I would say 4 is definitely more interactive. It's definitely including paramedics and doctors. It's going to create groups of those people and ask them to share their experiences. So definitely the ones who have a better who have a better satisfaction rate will be able to share their experience with people who don't have a good satisfaction rate. Hence, it might become more effective as well. So of the options we have here, 4 is only option which satisfies what the question is asking for: interactive, effective for paramedics and doctors. So 4 is the best option we have here. Please type 4 if everybody is clear with why we are going with option 4 for this question. Perfect. Let's move to the next question. I'm going to the next question in the quiz. The next question is up in the quiz. It is up on your screen here as well. And those of you who are actually looking at the screen and reading and you're not taking the quiz, if the letters are not clear, you can increase the quality of the video. The video is getting streamed at 1080p. Even if you keep at, I think, 720p or even 480p, sometimes you will be able to read all the letters with absolute clarity. You can even take it up to 1080p if your internet connection is going to allow for that. Okay, the time is up. Let's see how we can solve this one. Before that, the status of the leaderboard. Okay, what is this question asking us to do? Consider the following actions. Okay, some actions are given. What am I supposed to do with them? Which of the following sequence of actions? Now that's important. Sequence of actions means they have to happen in a particular sequence. So which of the following sequence of actions, means one after the other, which of the following sequence of actions is most appropriate for the hospital administration in achieving their goal? Okay, let's see what kind of statements are given here. Conduct a survey of all stakeholders and ascertain their needs and suggestions. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to classify these points into either discussions or implementations. So it's either a D kind of action or an I kind of action. Either a discussion means you are still brainstorming to find out what has to be done. Implementation is you have figured out what has to be done, so you're rolling out the whole process. Okay, let's look at the first one. Conduct a survey of all stakeholders and ascertain their needs and suggestions. Okay, you tell me, is it D or I? The first one, is it D or is it I? Is it a discussion or is it an implementation? What do you think? Definitely D, right? I mean, you're still brainstorming to find out. So I would say this is D. First one is D, conduct a survey of all stakeholders and ascertain their needs and suggestions. Build consensus among doctors and paramedics on a possible way forward. Okay, this one, second one, is that D or I? Build a consensus among doctors and paramedics on a possible way forward. What do you think? Is it D or I? I would say it's kind of D and kind of I. I'll say why. Because, okay, build consensus, so it's an action word. So you might think, oh, hey, this is actually implementation. It's actually not implementation. Because possible way forward, you are trying to build consensus for a possible way forward. You haven't even figured out what you're going to do. Okay, maybe there are certain possibilities. You're still trying to figure out on which possibility shall all of us agree on. Right? So I would say this is more like a D/I kind of situation here. Okay, you are building consensus, so you're trying to implement something, but it's not clear what exactly you're trying to implement. You want to figure out how to go forward. So you are still in the figuring out stage. Okay, so I would say this is more like a D/I, not exactly discussion, not exactly implementation as well. It's kind of a mix. Okay, please type 2 if you agree with me that it's more of a D/I. Perfect. Perfect. Let's go for the third one. Prepare an action plan that details the roadmap along with financial implications. Now, if you're preparing an action plan, means you have already decided something. That's when you're preparing an action plan as how we are going to do things and what will be the financial implication. I would say this is definitely an implementation part. Third is an I. Fourth one, design different service packages. What about fourth? Is that a D or an I? Design differential service packages based on the affordability of the patients. Is that D or an I? Fourth one. Definitely I, right? It's very clear what they're trying to do. It's already decided. Differential service packages I am going to come up with. Okay, so let's design it, go for implementation. So this is definitely an implementation. What about the fifth one, guys? Run a brainstorming session among the leading doctors of the area. Is that a D or an I? Definitely D. You're still trying to figure out what has to be done. Okay, you are trying to figure out what has to be done. Ideas are not clear. You're not actually implementing anything. So now why I would say this, why I'm even classifying them as D/I or D or I is because, see, you want to go for a sequence, right? Implementation will never come before you discuss what has to be implemented. So that is something you want to keep in mind. Okay. So now we should generally start with something which is a discussion. Okay, you should start with something that's a discussion. So let's see which one we can start with. And if you notice, look at the options. All the options start with either 4 or 1 or 5. And 4 we can get rid of right away. Okay, because 4 is a clear implementation. So 4 I can get rid of. You would not go for an implementation and then go for some kind of a discussion. So mostly that's not the answer. So 1, 5, 4. 5 is still a discussion. 1 is also a discussion. Let's go for that. Let's look at, let's come from the bottom. Let's look at the fifth one. 1, 5 and 3. Now what is 1? Conduct a survey of all stakeholders and ascertain their needs and suggestions. Run a brainstorming session among the leading doctors of the area. Now what I would say is this is redundancy. You have already conducted a survey of all stakeholders to ascertain their needs and suggestions. Means you have something in your hand to go ahead and roll out. Right? Something at least is there in your hand. Now, why would you again go for, doing a brainstorming session with leading doctors? It's more like repeating step 1. So I would not, favor more option 5. Let's look at option 4. 5, 4, 2. Okay, what's 5? Run brainstorming session among the leading doctors of the area. Okay. 4. Design differential service packages. That is a clear implementation. And then you're going for building consensus. You're already designing. You're already implementing. You're designing the plan. And then why would you go for building consensus? The sequence is kind of messed up. So you can get rid of this also. Let's look at the first, the only left over option, which is option 2. 1, 2 and 3. And what is 1? Conduct a survey of all stakeholders and ascertain their needs and suggestions. So you will end up with, let's say, 10 or 15 needs and suggestions. Now build a consensus among doctors and paramedics on a possible way forward. So you have these 10 or 15 needs and suggestions. You might not be able to go forward with all of them. So you build a consensus as to what all we'll have to prioritize. So you do your consensus building. And then prepare an action plan. Once you've got the consensus, you go for an action plan as to how you're going to implement the ones that you have got consensus on. That looks like a perfect sequence of action. Discuss, identify certain needs and suggestions, build a consensus on what needs to be concentrated on, and then you prepare an action plan for rolling it out. So 1, 2, and 3 is the perfect sequence of actions here. Please type 2 if everybody is clear with why we are going with option 2 for this question. Great. Now, just a reminder, in case you are in the live session, I could see that there are 30 people in the live session and there are some 22 likes here. If you can like the video, it helps us to reach more students. Probably YouTube suggests us to more people if you like the video. So do like the video if you're liking the way the session is going. And let's move to the next question now. Okay, the next question is up on the screen. It's up here as well in the video. Just give me a minute. Yeah, it's up here in the video. Great, the time is up. Let's see the status of the leaderboard. Looks like there were a few who got it wrong. Okay, let's see how we can approach this question, guys. Which of the following decisions is most likely to satisfy all the stakeholders? Again, look at the question. Satisfy all the stakeholders. Okay, first of all, let's list down who are the stakeholders here. Can you give me the stakeholders here? Who are the stakeholders in this question? I'm just looking for some response from the people who are there in the live session. Who are the stakeholders here? Doctors definitely are one of the stakeholders. Doctors. Who else? Paramedics. The management. Anybody else? The patients, right? The patients. So these are the stakeholders here. Doctors, paramedics, managements, patients. As far as what is given to us, those are the stakeholders we can think of. Now, which of the following decisions is most likely to satisfy all the stakeholders? Let's see. Allow doctors to choose patients based on income levels, thus profiting both patients and the organization. Now, first thing is this, it might benefit the doctor, and the way the option is putting it, it might benefit the patients and the organization. But there is a problem here. What is the problem that you see in option 1? Other than the fact that it might satisfy some of the stakeholders, there is a problem in statement 1. Can anybody think about that problem? Allow doctors to choose patients based on income levels. Unethical. Not in medicine, right? I mean, you cannot say choose patients based on income levels. Like if they have a lot of money, probably a better doctor will go and treat. Definitely not acceptable, right? Definitely not acceptable. This is an unethical option. Okay, I would not go for that at all. Let's go for the next one. Raise income of doctors and reduce waiting time of patients. Raise income of doctors, reduce waiting time of patients, as if waiting time of patients is the only problem the patients have. Okay, so raise income of doctors, definitely they'll be happy. You are taking care of the doctors, but I'm not sure whether reducing waiting time of patients will make patients happy. So effectively, I'm only sure that doctors are going to be happy here. It's not taking care of all the stakeholders. So let's leave that aside. Let's look at the next one. Increase income of doctors. Of course, the doctors will be happy. And the number of paramedics. If you're going to increase the number of paramedics, maybe the patients might be happy, but will the paramedics be happy? I'm not sure. So that's like that. Give 30% discount on medicines purchased from the hospital store. Probably patients will be happy. Paramedics and doctors might not be happy. Increase income of doctors. Of course, doctors will be happy. And paramedics, they will also be happy. And the ambience of the hospital, that might result in a better patient satisfaction. Just like waiting time might result in, reducing waiting time might result in a better satisfaction of the patients. So if I'm going to compare 2 and 4, 2 is only concentrating on doctors and patients, but 2 and 5. 2 is only comparing, 2 is only taking care of doctors and patients, but 5 is taking care of doctors, paramedics, and ambience of the hospital, which kind of ensures something for the patients as well. So I would definitely say when 5 is there, I would not go for 2. Increase income of doctors and the number of paramedics. Again, I'm not clear whether paramedics are going to be more happy with that, because if I am there and if I am getting paid, let's say 8,000, just because you're going to recruit another 100 people, I'm not going to be happy. If you increase my 8,000 to 10,000, then I'll be happy. So I'm not sure whether paramedics are going to be happy there. Maybe the patients will be happy, but patients are also, patients could also be happy in option 5. So I would rule out 3 in favor of 5. 30% discount on medicine purchased. Maybe patients will be happy. Doctors and paramedics, no reason why they are going to be happy. So the best option we have here is increase the income of doctors, okay, tick mark for doctors, and paramedics, okay, tick mark for paramedics, and ambience of the hospital. Maybe that might make the patients happy, and when all 3 of them are happy, that might also end up making the management happy, because everybody who's involved in the whole business, if they are happy, and that's what the management also wants, the management also might end up being happy. So the best option we have here, which is most likely to satisfy all stakeholders, is option 5. Okay, because it's directly telling you are going to make doctors and patients happy, and ambience, which is related to patient satisfaction. So 3 of the stakeholders are being taken care of in 5. So that's the best option we have for this question. Please type 5 if you're clear with why we are going with 5 for this question. Perfect. In case you have any kind of alternate ways of thinking at this question, you can put it down. We can definitely discuss on that, because as I said, it's not about solving this question, it's about getting equipped to solve a lot more questions of similar kind. Okay, let's move to the next question. I'm moving to the next question of the quiz. We have 10 questions today, and we have just done the 6th question. We are moving to the 7th question. The 7th question is up in the quiz already. Okay, let me put up the timer here as well. Yeah, please refresh if you haven't seen the 7th question in the quiz. Anytime you don't see the question, but if I say the question is already up, you can refresh to see the question coming up. Otherwise, it's not necessary to refresh. If you see the next question is not coming, you can refresh. Okay, the time is up. Let's see what is the status of the leaderboard at the end of your attempts of this question. Good. Let's see how we can approach this one. Let's give a quick reading to this one. Just a minute. Okay. A pastor had eaten at a restaurant with his group of 10 and his family. It is a norm to tip the waiter, and about 20% of the waiter's salary comes from these tips. However, while paying the bill, the pastor crossed out the automatic 18% tip charge for parties of more than 8 and wrote, "I give God 10%. Why do you get 80?" The pastor has a point. "I give God 10%. Why do you get 18%?" Above his signature. The chagrined waitress at the restaurant posted a photo of this on the social media. She was subsequently fired for violating company's policy on customer privacy. Okay, fine. You're not supposed to post on social media. This would have been understandable if the restaurant had not posted just 2 weeks ago a customer receipt. Oh, so the restaurant themselves have posted a customer receipt that was complimenting them. Social media and social activists came heavily upon the management's ambivalent stand and the firing of the waitress. In response, the company posted a note on the social media page defending their actions, quickly drew over 10,000 comments, mostly negative towards the management, started responding by posting the same note over and over again. There were also accusations of the company deleting negative comments and blocking users. The restaurant also experienced a sizable drop in the footfall. Okay. Who or what is the main cause for the situation becoming unmanageable? Okay, the key points here, it has to be the cause, means it has to be something which actually initiated the whole process for the situation becoming unmanageable. Okay, let's see. The waitress for violating customer privacy. See, the thing is, the waitress was not the first to violate customer privacy. The management has already violated the customer privacy, right? If you see here, management, this would have been understandable. Which is understandable? That is, firing of that person is understandable. Why did they fire her? They fired her because she violated company's policy on customer privacy. But the restaurant themselves had complimented a customer by posting the receipt, which is also violating customer privacy, right? So the waitress for violating customer privacy, now she is not the cause of the whole thing, because customer privacy violation has already happened. Even before this, the restaurant had done this. So this is not the first thing to happen which initiated the whole process. So I would not go for option 1 here. The management for giving out disproportionate punishment to waitress. Probably yes, because the management itself did violate customer privacy in terms of appreciating some customer, right? Sorry, in terms of showing the appreciation they got from a customer, right? So when they did it, it was fine. But when she did, they took an ambivalent stand and fired her. That's where things started changing. And you can also see here, this would have been understandable if the restaurant had not done it. Okay, so where the problem came is the restaurant did something and that was okay. When the waitress did, that was not okay. So this could actually become our answer. The management for giving out disproportionate punishment to waitress. Ambivalent stand they took in terms of dealing with the waitress. The management for removing negative comments from social media. The thing is, first of all, how did the negative comments even come? Right? The negative comments and all, they started coming after this became a big issue. So removing negative comments is not the cause of this becoming manageable. Okay, we are looking at the cause here. So I would not go for the management removing negative comment as the cause for the situation becoming manageable. The management for not taking action against the pastor. Of course, you cannot take action against the pastor. He is your customer. What action are you going to take against the pastor? Action against the pastor, immediately out. The pastor for flouting the norms of restaurant. Now, the pastor doesn't care. Why should he even follow the norm of the restaurant? Right? He's not an employee of the restaurant or something like that. So, pastor for flouting the norm of the restaurant, he will flout. Probably he'll come again and flout. Okay, so you cannot expect a customer to come and follow your norm in terms of paying tips for the waiters. So definitely 4 and 5 were easily removed. Among 1, 2 and 3, we are looking at the cause. So it should be the first point from where the problem started, right? Waiters violating privacy is not something that happening for the first time. Customer privacy has already been violated. So that's not the main cause. The cause is management dealing with that in a slightly different manner. When they did, it was okay. When she did, it was dealt out differently. She was also fired from it. So the best answer we have is option 2 for this question. Type 2 if you are clear with why we are going with option 2 for this question. Perfect. Let's move to the next question. The next question is up in the quiz. It's also up on your screen here. The time is up. Let's see the status of the leaderboard at the end of this question. Good, many of you seem to have got it right. Let's see how we can solve this. The downward spiral continued for the restaurant as the management persisted in defending their actions and argued with those who criticized them. By the following week, the original post had generated over 18,000 negative comments. Which of the following? is the best way forward for the restaurant at this juncture. Apologize to and reinstate the waitress and ask her to apologize for her breach of customer privacy and post both the apologies on social media. Okay, see the whole social media problem. The people in social media who are giving these negative comments, who are they finding is at wrong? Are they saying that the pastor is at wrong, or the waitress is at wrong, or the management is at wrong? Who is it? Pastor or a waitress or the management? The social media is speaking against which of these three? Definitely against management, right? So, and you're doing something to make sure. I'm not even sure whether they are angry with the waitress. Let's look at this. Social media and social activists came heavily upon the management's ambivalent stand. So I cannot even say they are actually angry with the waitress. They are angry with the management's ambivalent stand and firing of the waitress. So I would not say that, I don't see enough reasons here to believe that social media is actually angry at the waitress. But I'm clearly seeing that they are angry on the management. Okay, because they were ambivalent in the way they treated the waiters and the way they treated themselves for violating customer privacy. So definitely social media is angry on management. So you'll have to do something to soothe them and get out of the social media mess that has been created. So apologize to. So when you apologize to the waitress as a management, that might soothe the social media, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to get out of the mess. So apologize to, okay, that will take care of management, and reinstate the waitress. You're apologizing and reinstate the waitress. Ask her to apologize for her breach, because that was the initial stand, right? It was the initial stand for firing this person is because she had a breach. So ask her to apologize for her breach of customer privacy and post both the apologies. I think that should be fine. Let's look at other ones and where they might fall insufficient. Reinstate the waitress provided she apologized for her breach of customer privacy and post. See, you're only asking her to apologize, but social media is not angry on waitress. They're more angry on the management. So if you want to get out of the social media mess, you as a management has to apologize. It's not that you make her to apologize, right? So that's why I would not go for option 2. Option 3, recruit 2 waitresses at a higher wages but stick to the original decision. Then you're going to get more negative comments and the whole thing is going to snowball into something bigger, right? Reinstate the waitress if and only if she apologizes for her breach of customer privacy and post. Again, the management is not apologizing, but the social media is finding the management as at fault. Right? So if you're not apologizing, you're only asking the waitress to apologize, still they might be angry with you. They might probably be more angry with you after that. Unconditionally restore the waitress to her former position and salary on the ground that she was never at fault in the first place. Well, that might actually soothe the social media. But what is the problem in this? What is the problem in option 5? It will definitely soothe the social media. If you're going to restore the waitress in a former position and salary on the ground that she was never at fault in the first place, it's definitely going to solve the social media issue. But what is the problem here? The management will look like a douchebag, right? You fire a waitress just like that and then say she was never at fault. So were you wrong at first? Why were you wrong? So it kind of creates a wrong precedent, makes you look like an idiot, right? So you cannot do that. You cannot say she was never at fault in the first place. She did violate something. And because of that, you took an action. Probably the action was a little too extreme. So you cannot say she was never at fault. She definitely did violate customer privacy. So you cannot say that you will just get her back and say that she's absolutely clean. Then your initial moves, whatever you did, they were partly correct. Maybe they are a little too extreme. To fire her might be a little too extreme, but they were partly correct. She did violate customer privacy. So you cannot get her back and say she's never at fault. Then it will go against the judgment of the management completely. If she's never at fault, then why did you fire her in the first place? Right? So that's the problem. So the best answer we have is 1, apologize to. So as a management, you apologize to the employee. That satisfies the social media. And ask the employee also to apologize because she also violated something, and put both on the faces of the people who are giving negative comments. That will solve all the issues. So that's the best option we have. Please type 1 if you're clear with why we're going with option 1 for this question. Perfect. The last set for today's discussion, the last two questions. I'm going to the next question in the quiz. That is the last set of questions. The next question is up in the quiz. It's also up on your screen here. Okay, the time is up. Let's see the status of the leaderboard. Very good. Good number of you have got it right. Let's quickly give this a reading. Vimala is the domestic help for Shreya and her neighbor Padma. Both live in a posh gated community. Vimala not only cleans the house, but also cooks for both the families. That is Shreya's and Padma's. Shreya treasures Vimala ever since she joined her family 4 years ago. Vimala joined Padma's household this year. One evening, Shreya, trying to pay the pizza delivery, was surprised to find a few 500 rupee notes missing from her purse that she was sure were there earlier. She wants to ascertain if someone has stolen the money. On reflecting, the following facts crossed her mind. Okay, what am I supposed to do with these facts? Which of the following combination of the above statements would decrease the likelihood that Vimala has stolen the money? Decrease the likelihood that Vimala has stolen the money. Okay, let's see. First one. In the last 1 year, Shreya had noticed cash missing on 3 occasions. That's a very general situation. I mean, not that something that happens normally. That situation doesn't implicate or vindicate Vimala, right? It has got nothing to do with Vimala in particular. So that is not going to decrease Vimala's chances of being questioned here. So I'll just put a question mark here. Let's see if there is something which will actually decrease the likelihood of Vimala being questioned or doubted. Shreya's husband also shared that a few notes were missing from his wallet, though he was not sure if they were stolen. That's also something general, right? That only tells that the instance where she found that a few 500 rupee notes were missing is not the only instance. There were also other instances. Now, that doesn't implicate or vindicate Vimala. Her eldest son had been pestering Shreya for more pocket money for the last 3 weeks. In the last few days, he had stopped doing so. This one might vindicate Vimala, because it is trying to show that there is another person in need of money in this house and suddenly he stopped asking for it. So it's possible that he might have taken it, right? So this one vindicates Vimala. I mean, vindicates means I'm saying there is some reason to think it might not be Vimala. It doesn't completely vindicate Vimala. Okay, in the last 1 year, Vimala had received 6 mails from her family asking for money. Oh, this kind of even implicates Vimala, showing that she might be having a need for money, right? Her eldest son's expenditure had gone up in the last few days. This also kind of vindicates Vimala, because her eldest son might have taken that money and that's how his expenditure has gone up, right? So as we are supposed to look for statements which will decrease the likelihood, means we are supposed to look for statements which will kind of vindicate Vimala from getting into this problem. So 3 and 5, because they are pointing to an alternate cause of trouble and not Vimala being the only possible cause of trouble. So 3 and 5, our best answer is option 1 for this question. Type 1 if you're clear with why we are going with option 1 for this question. Perfect. Let's move to the last question for today's quiz. The last question is up in the quiz. It's also up on the screen here. Well, the time is up. Let us see the final state of the leaderboard at the end of today's quiz. Perfect. Congratulations to all of you who are figuring on the leaderboard, and special congratulations to all those who crossed 50 marks or 50 points in this quiz. Very good. And to one person who is at 49.89 as well. Great. Let's see how we can solve this question. Padma discovered some money missing from her purse. She suspects that Vimala has stolen. She wants to prevent, okay, what she wants to do is important. She wants to prevent the stealing from happening again and is contemplating on the following actions. Okay, what am I supposed to do with the actions? Arrange the following combinations of the above actions in the decreasing order. Means of appropriate. So most appropriate action first and then the next appropriate, the next appropriate. Okay. She should let it pass since to err is human. That's ridiculous. You cannot say you should just let it pass. See, she wants to prevent the stealing from happening. You cannot just sit and wait thinking that the thief is suddenly going to get an epiphany and going to stop stealing. So to let it pass and not do anything is a no action point. Definitely that's not something that you would be doing if you want to prevent the stealing from happening again. You should confront Vimala and tell her that she knows the truth. She doesn't know the truth. You cannot lie, right? She suspects that Vimala has stolen. You cannot tell her that you know the truth. That's a lie. That's also ruled out. I think I've already got the answer. 1 and 2 can never be your answer. It cannot be in any part of your answer. But because they're ridiculous. 1 is no action. You're just sitting and waiting that whoever is stealing will suddenly come to realize that stealing is not a good habit and they will stop it. That might not be the right way to think about how to deal with this kind of situation. So no action is definitely not a good action. Second one is to go and lie to her, which is again not right. So first and second should not be there in your answer at all. Let's look at the other 3, whether is there anything ridiculous there as well. She should tell Vimala that she's aware someone has stolen the money. Definitely she's aware from the house, but it is not sure who it is. That's exactly correct. So what this would do, I mean, how is this going to prevent is if Vimala is someone who has stolen, it will send a message to Vimala that Padma is aware and probably she is also looking out for who is stealing. So you'll have to be careful. It will just send a message without directly confronting. She is sending a message. Fine. She should share with Vimala that neighbors think Vimala has stolen. That also is not right. That neighbors think that Vimala has stolen the money. She doesn't. Maybe, may not be. Okay, we don't know whether neighbors think or not. We know that Padma only suspects. We don't know whether neighbors think or not. So I don't know whether that's exactly correct or not, but we don't have information about it. So I would not say that's a great thing to do. But is interested in finding out the truth. So when Padma says that she's interested in finding out the truth, that might send a signal to Vimala. If Vimala is the thief, that no, this thing is not done here. I am looking forward for somebody. If they have stolen, probably they'll be punished or something like that. Right. So kind of okay. I would not say it's as good as option 3. She should directly ask Vimala if she stole the money, promising her no punishment if she confesses. I don't think she's going to confess. Right. But still it is good. There is nothing wrong in telling her that, I am looking for the person who is stealing. Right. So 3, 4, 5 sound okay. 3 is definitely the best. So I should go for 3, 4, 5 in any order actually in this particular situation, because 1 and 2 should definitely not come. That itself gets rid of all these options for me and leaves behind only option 1. And 3 is definitely there in the first. We're looking at decreasing order. That's a perfect answer to go for here. And 4, which is slightly not very right, because you don't know about neighbors, whether they think that Vimala has stolen or not. That's not given in the passage, so we don't know about it. So putting 4 in the end and 5 immediately after 3, that makes for a perfect order for decreasing appropriateness. Okay, please type 1 if you're clear with why we are going with option 1. Perfect. With that, we have come to the end of the session. Once again, I'm reminding, in case you haven't liked the video, do like the video and subscribe to our channel so that you'll start getting notifications on the future sessions that we are going to do. And keep this thing in mind, guys. The way to solve decision-making questions, I have already discussed. There are certain points that you have to keep in mind. And I could see that some of you are actually getting the questions wrong based on the discussions we had. The reason could be you're not actually concentrating on the question here. Like what the question is asking you to do. Sequential actions, all stakeholders. So these are certain things you have to keep in mind. Like what is the question actually asking you to do? Okay, annex kingdom K. So that's his aim. And the question is asking you for an option which will help to achieve the aim. So stay within the scope of the question. Whatever the question is asking you to do, try to do that by choosing the right option. Okay, that's something that you have to keep in mind. Great. So I hope you had a great discussion. I enjoyed the discussion thoroughly. I'm looking forward for the more discussions that we're going to have the next week. We have a discussion of critical reasoning tomorrow. I look forward to catching up with you guys in that discussion. See you guys. Good night.